I couldn't believe the width. A warm welcome to Big Fight Weekly with myself, Stuart Palmer, and Chris Hume. We cover UFC, MMA, and we also cover boxing every week with Powered 4 TV in association with Powered 4 TV. How's it going, Chris?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
I think we'll get right into it, man. Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns, UFC 258 for the welterweight title. How did you find it? Was it what you expected?
Well, we spoke about it last week, didn't we? Briefly.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, you're on the fence. I wasn't sure how the fight would go because when we spoke about it, they both trained together. So, that big storyline between the pair of them. I didn't know. The first round was very touch and go because I thought Gilbert Burns was fantastic opening for the first couple of minutes with the hooks, and he stunned Usman, and he thought, oh, God, dear. Can he catch him? And after that, Usman took complete charge, and that straight right was devastating all the way through that fight.
5-inch reach advantage, wasn't there, in favour of Usman? He couldn't utilise it in the first round, though, could he? I mean,
he backed him up.
Yeah, I know he did catch him when he went for that kick as well. He was on. Gilbert Burns was on the canvas, wasn't he? We're trying to get him, obviously stop him with the up kicks.
It got stuck there, though, didn't it?
Yeah,
Usman was going to go down. Usman's not going to go down. Gilbert Burns is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so you're not going to go play with waters there. I found the fight was really interesting, and it seemed to me it's showing how far Usman is above the rest. Gilbert Burns is no joke, and fantastic against Tyron Woodley. And obviously, so was Usman when he won the title. To me now, it's a hard point. Who and where do you go now with Usman? Because Burns you can put against quite a few below him. They can match him up. But it's Usman. Who do you go now with?
Does Burns beat those guys below? Your Covingtons, your I'm trying to think of his name here now. It's gone.
Liam Roberts.
Yeah, Liam Roberts. Where would you see off the back of this loss?
I think Kobe be a tasty fight, but I think it'd be quite similar to Usman. I think Usman and Kobe are very similar styles in the way that fantastic wrestling and they're quite good stand up as well. I think obviously Usman's far superior in that division department. For him and for Burns, it's going and dropping down. Maybe looking at Stephen Thompson, he's free.
Well, Wonder Boy's put his name in the hat, hasn't he, Chris? To be fair to him, how is he the fighter he was years ago in your mind? Because he was quite successful years ago.
He was. Yeah. He had some fantastic fights with Woodley, and I seem to think with fights like that, and you look at Kane and JDS, and he took a lot of punishment, and I haven't seen him be the same sort of style fighter since then. More observing and waiting more. I think for Thompson, Burns is a good choice. Leon Roberts is a good choice. Kobe maybe, but then there's Masvidal as well. There's a few fighters out there that you can sort of put together.
They're hot on that, though, aren't they? Apparently, they want Usman and Masvidal. They want that again.
Yeah, but straight up crap talking, isn't it, for Masvidal? you know, after their fight in Abu Dhabi to now, like.
Surely they look at, you know, Covington and Masvidal. That's going to draw that'll draw the most money, surely, in the division. Even though, you know, they're not champion, that's got to be the money. That's got to have a lot of money against it. Surely the purses will be high, won't they?
Big time talkers. It sells a lot, and again, former training partners. You know, they're roommates as well, Masvidal and Kobe Covington. So yeah, it's a hard one because I think for Usman, for him, other than Stephen Thompson, because I don't think he's fought Stephen Thompson yet, it's all rematches for him now.
Mm-hmm.
All rematches. And I think for me, it's like, it's hard to sell a fight to him now because he's beaten everyone and he's beaten the best. And for him, it's like, you know, if he wants Masvidal next, I'm sure everyone will tune and watch. Can Masvidal do something different than he did in Abu Dhabi? And obviously in a longer training camp as well. You know, I mean, he was only 6 days' notice when he fought Usman in Abu Dhabi. I still think the end result would be Usman. He'd take him down and grind.
Are you of the opinion? I know they say about this across lots of sports. The fans, would that change the way a fight would go in your mind, or do you just think they get in that cage and they just fight and that's what they do? Would that have a bearing on who would come out of that fight as champion and who would be the loser?
Possibly, but then if you listen to fighters when they get into the cage or a ring, they block everything out. So you don't hear the crowd, you don't hear anything else, do you? You're focused solely on the person who's standing in front of you. I don't think it makes a blind difference. And then Usman will do the same as he did in the first fight. You know, back him up, clinch him up, take him down. And now, again, he's added that straight right now, and that's devastating. You know, wrestler can hit with power. It's scary.
Just different. He's been, you know, he was on the precipice for a long time, wasn't he, Usman? And then now it's just like I can't see anybody in that top 10. I wonder, like, if we pull up the welterweight rankings, just have a look. Like, who's in amongst the 10. I think just keep it down to a 10 rather than 15. So yeah, if we look there, obviously we've spoken about Leon Edwards. He's UK. We want him to do well, but as you said off camera, he's not fought for a long time. He's been a long hiatus.
18 months, yeah.
Why have they not booked him, Chris? Why have they not booked him into any fights?
Well, obviously, with Hamzat, he obviously was booked 3 times. Both have been both got COVID during, you know, both all bouts being agreed. Obviously, Hamzat can't. I don't know. They said today that he went back into training camp and couldn't breathe. So obviously that fight's scrapped now. For him, doesn't sell himself. And I think in a division where it's stacked, you have to have a bit of soap opera, haven't you? And then sell yourself. Him and Masvidal had that thing a few years ago in the UK when they had a bit of a tussle. The free piece in the soda.
It got a bit tasty. We had the pre-fight and we had a good look at. Yeah, he wasn't taking any prisoners there, was he? Backstage.
I would have liked that fight because it sells, doesn't it?
How about Michael Chiesa? Now he's gone up from lightweight. I know he's been in welterweight for a while now. Where do you see Michael Chiesa in the mix since he's gone up to 170? Is he going to hit a ceiling, or is he in contention to be going for the title as well? I've been impressed with him, you know, at 170.
No, it's been decent, and I think it's his right weight class. You can see in his body frame it suits him much better. You know, he had a good performance against Neil Magny, who was always on a winning streak also himself. I was listening today to Houani, and they mentioned Chiesa and Leon Edwards, but then Houani's come out now and said that Chiesa's got rib injuries, because that'd be a great fight for him. Now it's once you look at above him now, you've got Thompson, Masvidal, Edwards, Burns, Covington, murderer's row, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. You look at all that, even down. I mean, Tyron Woodley, is he in a stage in his career now that his age, punishment he's taken in fights, and then obviously Damian Maia's in his 40s now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been around for a long time.
I mean, great fighter in his own right, but it's kind of like all those two looking at that table there, looking at the charts, the rankings. Is it that them two are a bit, you know, over the hill now in keeping up with the guys above them?
For me, like Woodley has had he does a lot of stuff outside of the UFC, doesn't he? He does his rap music. I haven't listened to it personally myself.
You like a bit of rap music, don't you?
Yeah, I don't mind it. But, probably proper artists.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm a bit more old school myself. And I mean, he's been in a few films as well. Straight Outta Compton, he was in that. So I think, and I don't think he sells well. He's always complaining, isn't he? He's always battling Dana, which has never helped him.
That was going to be my next one. I know you've brought it up well there. Why? What is the problem with Dana White and Woodley? Because it's been in the press for years, hasn't it? When he was champion, and he was champion for a long time, wasn't he? To be fair to Woodley, he came in, didn't he? And he made quite a bit of noise. But why do they not get on? Why don't them two get on, Chris? What do you think from the outside looking in?
Clash of characters, isn't it? Both really outspoken. And I think it's just that short, really. They're just both really outspoken. Woodley, wanted more. Dana White didn't think he did. And I think in Dana's sort of defence, you've got to look back at his fights against Damian Maia, and it's a terrible fight. I understood what Woodley didn't want to go to ground, and which is fair enough because Damian Maia is a jiu-jitsu king. You don't want to go to ground with someone like that. But it was a ball fest. And I think if people are booing, it's hard for you to get any sort of push, isn't it? From Dana. Dana likes his rockets to the stars type of fighter.
It's just a clash. It seems to me it's just a clash of personalities, which that can happen in life. That can happen in life. I mean, it's not just in the fight game, is it? But I think moving on now, I think we've covered the rankings quite a bit. We've covered the guys in there, the movers and shakers of the division. How about UFC Fight Night this coming Sunday for us in the UK? Undercard from 1 a.m. I think I saw on the thing when we're going to go.
It's usually 1 and 3.
It's a big one at heavyweight this week, isn't it? Curtis Blades versus Derrick Lewis. I'm looking forward to this one. What are your thoughts with that one? How do you see that one going?
I'm more going towards Blades because his wrestling ability and the pressure. We can back Lewis up against the fence. Lewis again is your typical old school heavyweight. Can catch you with one punch, and he's got great heart, and he's proven that in many fights. The last fight, they both fought Volkov and both beat Volkov, and Volkov was fantastic last weekend, or the weekend before that. Sorry, it's a style of banger versus wrestler because I don't think Curtis Blades is going to stand and want to trade with Derrick Lewis. Not many people want to. You see how big the man is, man.
Blades can though, can't he? But obviously, a man the level of Lewis, he's the Black Beast for a reason.
And it's funny when you say this. Lewis and Blades have both fought Francis Ngannou. Only one of them there has beaten him.
Do you think that'll go into the fight on early hours of Saturday night in America?
I tend to think it'll be Blades, unless Lewis can pull one off. Because he can, and he's proven he has. I probably, it's a safe bet. I'd probably say Blades because he can just grind that one out without taking too much punishment. And
where would the winner go then? Where are they going to?
This it's a hard one. This one now.
In your expert opinion,
okay.
Maybe just something from the top of your head. I know you know the divisions like the back of your hand, Chris.
Right. So Blades. Well, he's ranked 3rd at the moment. I'm not going to get a title shot because obviously Francis Ngannou and Miocic are fighting in a couple of months' time, and the winner then is John Jones. So to me, it's like, where does Blades go here? Because he can take another fight, but do you want to? But then again, how long are you going to be waiting? Is he going to be fighting for the title next year now? Because the heavyweight champion, well, most of them don't tend to fight more than once or twice a year. And you're thinking if Miocic is fighting in a couple of months, he's not then going to fight. Whoever wins that fight is not going to face John Jones to Madison Square Garden, because that'll be a big fight. John Jones going up a weight, so they're going to want to put it somewhere massive, aren't they, in a big arena, and especially if they get fans back. So Blades, it's hard because Blades is going to have to sit, and it's probably not good for him if he gets a title shot. But then depends how. John Jones, can he do it? Would Miocic or Ngannou want a rematch if they lost? Vice versa. It's a long wait for him. Lewis can go up the pecking order. He can start that road up. For the title shot again. I think he's probably got more of an option than Blades. Blades is probably, I say, he's going to struggle because I don't think he's want to give up anything if he wins the fight.
There's a lot of permutations, as you just said there. I think just to get into the card, and there's one match that stands out because we've got a UK fighter on the card in another big heavyweight bout, and it is the legend, the legend, Andrei Arlovski versus our man Tom Aspinall, and Tom Aspinall is on a 2-fight win streak in quite possibly it's the biggest fight of his career, isn't it, Chris? I'm
surprised he took it, if I'm honest.
Do you think this is only going one way?
No, I don't. For me, it's just Arlovski. Yeah, okay, he's winding down.
50 fights, Arlovski.
Yeah, for me, it's like with Arlovski, we had this little split. But when I say little split, it was against Ngannou and it was against Overeem. It was against the big heavyweights, and he's pulled it back the last 2 fights. He's won 2 fights on the bounce. He's not finished anyone. No, he's decision. For Aspinall, it's a case of, can you get the job done? Because he's wiry, he's a veteran, isn't he?
Does he need? And this might sound obvious to other fight fans listening to this and watching. Does Aspinall have to be patient, or does he just go in and try and finish him? I had to ask. No. I've seen the 2 fights, but it's a big step up in class. And
it's massive.
Arlovski, he was in UFC years ago. He came away. He had a bit of an Indian summer, didn't he, when he came back into the UFC initially? He was winning fights. It just feels
dubious like one against Brendan Sharp, you mean, on his return. That was just dubious to sell that one. No, but he came back. He had that memorable, historic fight against Travis Brown. If you haven't watched it, go on YouTube and find that fight, because it's what the heavyweight division is all about. But he hasn't knocked anyone out since Travis Brown. And actually, we're talking a few years ago now. I think he's like what we spoke about last week, is a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
If you're going to be smashing into the top 10, then you need to beat people like Andrei Arlovski.
All the respect to Arlovski in the world, within the fight game, but you've got to go for the UK fighter, and it's nice to have a heavyweight from the UK in there, in amongst it, and hopefully he can come away with a W, Chris. I'm hoping so.
Well, I'm hoping so. He's good camp behind him. He trains with Darren Till.
He's at Cabon, isn't he? Yeah,
he's at Cabon.
Yeah, Team Cabon with Till.
So I think you learning with elite fighters does help along the way. For me, it's hard though, isn't it? Because people would count Arlovski out. Yeah, okay. He's had a lot of wars, been in a lot of fights, and Aspinall could come in now and wipe him completely, and it could possibly happen, but it can go the other way as well. It's hard. I must say I'm UK biased, so I obviously go Aspinall.
Oh, absolutely.
I love Arlovski.
I think your heart says Aspinall and your head saying Arlovski on paper, but it's the heavyweight division, and anything can happen. It's just anything could, as we've seen time and time again in there.
One punch. It's one punch.
Yeah. Massive fight for him. So that's it, man. We're gonna come to a segment now in the show.
Yeah, you put me on the spot for this one.
I've titled it. I give you plenty of time to put it together. I give you time, man. I know. A top 3 for me in wrestling is very hard to do. I could do a top 100. So definitely. As you can see there on the screen, Chris's top 3 fighters to watch, all from the UFC, just to be made clear to the fight fans watching and listening. Who have you gone with, Chris? Who's your first one?
I'm going for Cyril Gane as my very first one. Another heavyweight who had a fantastic fight against JDS. I know it's quite open. It wasn't what I think I read before I watched it. They did one of those stupid things you do. And then I watched it back. It was very close, but Cyril Gane, look at the big physique. It's very good with his takedown submissions as well. Fantastic, which you don't get from many heavyweights. and he can bang. And when I say he can bang, his training partner's Francis Ngannou. So he's learning from the
Good
killer.
stock. Good stock, that, isn't it? If you're training with him every day, I'll tell you what, you'd be watching him when you're training with him, even though they're not in the cage. Like, his power.
He's only 30, and that's prime. And I mean, I've took some notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fire away, man. This is what this segment's for. I want you to put these guys over, as we say.
He's only been in the UFC since 2019. He's rocketed his way through. He started UFC with only 3 fights, which is, you know what I mean? And you can't, for me, it's hard to go into a heavyweight division. Yeah, the heavyweight division's been quite dry for a long time. But he's gone flying in there and done really, really well. And JDS is a staple of that division, one-time champion. You know, beat one of my fan favourites, didn't he? I wasn't very happy about that.
Years ago, but it's one of them, isn't it? How long does he go on for? But not taking anything away from Cyril Gane. You know, he's got to go out there and he's got to blow these guys out. And whether they're old, young, he's going in there to cause serious damage and rocket up the rankings, isn't he?
He has. And if you look at the heavyweight rankings, the guard's changing in the heavyweight now. A lot of youngsters are coming through. When I say youngsters, you're looking at your late 20s, 30s, which are still in MMA. I think you're younger there, aren't you? Yeah, he's done really well. I'm as one to watch because, like I say, he's training with a killer, and a heavyweight that can submit you as well. It's dangerous stuff.
There's not many guys. There's not many guys in there.
Frank Mir was the one, wasn't he?
Who else in that heavyweight division now, though, Chris, that can actually sub you? It's all about the stand-up, isn't it? For the most part, that's your bread and butter, isn't it? So, like you say, for him to be good in a submission style, it's got to go in his favour, hasn't it?
Well, if you look at it, if you're facing someone, power punches, say Francis Ngannou, and you can't take it, and you've got a submission background, you take it, don't you? You take them down, and you nullify the whole striking aspect of it. He's facing Rosenstrike next, and I spoke to you about this last week, that was a fight to make, because Rosenstrike bangs, and it's just one of those sort of fights where you see fireworks immediately.
Is it going to be one round, or are they going to go will they go the whole hog? That's what I want to know, because how many heavyweight fights go past the first round historically?
Not many with Rosenstrike, no.
With good reason. With good reason.
Yeah, because they have one punch kill. It's a good fight, and it's a good staple to see where Cyril Gane then can move from. Because I think Rosenstrike's third or fourth. No, sorry, he's fourth in the rankings at heavyweight. So you know what I mean? If he wins that, maybe he could get Blades if Blade beats Lewis. Yeah. Or Lewis could get him next. It opens up some possibilities for him.
Do you think that's why they're on the same card to set up the next fight?
Oh, there's 3 heavyweight fights on the card.
Who else? What's the other one, mate?
You're gonna hate me for this. I didn't look that one up.
It's all right, mate. It's all right.
I know there's 3.
We'll move on. We'll move on to your next one. UK fighter. I'm a big fan of this guy. I've followed him since he's come into the UFC. Arnold Allen.
Please. Really impressed with Arnold Allen. Really impressed with Arnold Allen.
Good win against Melendez. I know Melendez is in his more formative years.
It's still a big win. It's still a big win.
Absolutely. To beat Gilbert, he did well, didn't he, Chris?
He beat Nick Lentz as well. Nick Lentz has just retired himself, but you know, I mean, he was a grinder. And when we look at the past years of British fighters going against any type of American grinder, you knew what was going to happen. Changed the game, and I think he trains at TriStar, which is fantastic, and I think that helps. That whole takedown ground game problem for the UK fighters takes it away, and it is fantastic. He's 27 at featherweight division. The featherweight division again is another stacked division. his opponent. You know, I mean, he hasn't been facing bums. He's been facing top notch.
Where in the terms of the pyramid for Arnold Allen, so we go. Who would you like to see him go up against? Who's the next progression of who he's beaten already?
He's got a fight booked.
Right. Okay.
If I'm looking at my notes here, he's facing Youssef April the 10th, fight night 189, and Youssef is no joke either.
What's his style? What's he gonna try to do to him?
His striking is powerful. He's fast. He's in and out. He can also take you down, but his physique probably I'd say a bit bigger than Arnold Allen. But Arnold Allen's no slouch. Like he's still quite ripped. With Youssef, that I'm looking at, he's only 11-1, and he sits a rank above Arnold Allen. So the fight makes sense.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah,
to go up.
It's picked itself by design of the rankings. Right after Youssef saying he comes through it, I know it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Who would you? If you were the booker, if you were booking the cards, where would you put him? You know, all being well that he does. Obviously, we want him to win. He's UK, and he's got all the tools. Who next, Chris? Who's the man?
I vote three names.
Yeah, hey, that's fire away. The more the merrier, man. More.
And these three fights are placed 3 places ahead of each other. So one above each other. Sorry. So I've gone for Jeremy Stevens, and they were supposed to fight last year, but obviously COVID ruins everything. Dan Inge, who's only won the other week and looked impressive, and I've gone for Josh Emmett. They're all between 9, 8, and 7.
Josh Emmett can bang. Jeremy Stevens has got it in his locker, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And then Dan Ige, I have seen him. I've seen some fights from him. What does he bring to the table? What would Arnold be looking to be avoiding?
Ground game and strikes for him, but he's very fluid. Moves again. He's a very. I'd say he's a good opponent for, say, Arnold Allen, if to say he got past Youssef, which I suppose, I would say it's no easy fight. I've looked at them both today. It's hard to even say who you'd press me to say who's going to win out of them two. To even say to go forward and see who would fight next. If he, say, beats Youssef, which would be a fantastic win for him.
Yeah.
I'd personally go and give him Jeremy Stevens, and to see if he can cope with someone who can wrestle and knock your head off. Personally,
he looks good. He looks good at the weight for me, Arnold Allen.
Yeah, he does.
It looks, the physique's there, isn't it? You know, it'd be interesting. It will be very interesting going forward, that one. I think that the next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to come away from UFC now. There was two sets of news for Bellator. I'm going to touch upon the TV deal with BBC. BBC have taken it on. Who would have thought it years ago? You know, MMA was frowned upon. The BBC having MMA, but it just goes to show you, you know, what people think of MMA these days. So what are your thoughts? Now, I spoke to you about this last week when it dropped.
Yeah.
I still think it's the amount of people that have access to BBC. But as you said, numbers aren't what they used to be with the BBC. Due to streaming and the different services we've got available. What are your thoughts with Bellator being available on BBC here in the UK?
I'm happy for Bellator because I think the UK markets, especially with MMA, because it strives in boxing, doesn't it, and football, it's a hard market to break in and to find the right platform. UFC, I mean, they've gone through they went through ESPN when we had it on here, and then BT. Moved from BT and then went back to BT. I mean, you would have thought Sky Sports somewhere would have picked them up. Sky Sports, did pick up Bellator. But it was like, if you remember back in the day when Sky Sports had Ultimate Fighter on there.
Yeah, I do actually, yeah.
They showed it at a stupid time. And
but why didn't they then say, right, we'll take, I know we're coming off Bellator here just for a second, like, why didn't they take on the UFC? Because it was, like you said, they were showing the Ultimate Fighter.
I think they were obviously still in that deal with ESPN at the time, weren't they? So I was quite shocked to see it even on there. I don't know. And it's a hard market to break in because a lot of different sports have a lot of different strangleholds. Sorry, on couldn't get my words out on the platform,
You'd say stronghold as well.
but they have to do. So for them going to BBC, I mean, I have my pipes with them anyway, but it's a good move for them.
What did you it's coming to my brain here now. What did you think about Channel 5 were covering the European shows, weren't they? If I'm not mistaken. Channel 5, they did. I remember seeing some of the UK shows, but they'd come in a bit later towards like the main event end of the card.
They did that with a few UFCs a couple of years ago, if you remember rightly. The UK shows that Channel 5 did, and they had their own commentators on it instead. Channel 5 done this for a long time. If you remember back in the day, they did wrestling, didn't they? WWE was, showed pay-per-views on there. No one watches Channel 5, do they? And that's not been horrible to anyone who does. No. But it's not a platform that, rings some bells that people run to. But BBC UK, very recognised. Would you say beloved? Probably not. Not anymore anyway.
It's just different. It's a different...
It's good for them for exposure.
Yeah.
It's a good exposure for them.
I think if they can house it as well, if you can't watch it live, if they're going to house it on iPlayer, and if they market it properly, they should do quite well. They should do good numbers on iPlayer as well after, if they're going to make plenty of stuff available. Are they going to do the build-ups like we have on BT? And obviously
the countdowns and stuff.
Yeah. Are they going to package it like that, or are we just going to go straight in full tilt into events?
You'd like to hope so. My buddy, that's going a bit wobbly.
It's all right.
You'd like to hope so. I'm still a bit miffed that Sky Sports didn't do it, because obviously their competitor is BT Sports, and you could have done Bellator versus UFC. I wouldn't put them on the same night, no, but it was a good storyline to have there. But for Bellator going to BBC, it's great exposure. People who don't watch Bellator, because obviously it's hard to get over here live, you have to obviously find other means. It's good for them, and it's good for other people to see other fighters and to realise it's not just UFC that have good fighters. Bellator have some, fantastic fighters over there.
I think it's a perfect time, just before we get into the boxing, we'll talk about the Grand Prix tournament at light heavyweight, which was announced last week, and Rich has put the visual up there. So as you can see on there, we've got ex-UFC alumni right across the board in this tournament. Now, I'm not sure about the young man bottom left. I'm looking on my screen.
You were going to do this.
I know you've done your research on him. So obviously you're looking at Lyoto Machida. He's getting on now, isn't he? Ryan Bader, 2 ex-UFC, Corey Anderson, and Yakshi Muradov. Yakshi Muradov, I think his name is. That's the one that stood out to me out of all them fights, because it's like I've never heard of that guy.
Yeah. Well, obviously having to research this, because I didn't know who he was, and everybody else there.
Yeah.
He fought in the ACA over in Europe, and he was their light heavyweight champion. He's 18-5-1.
Right.
Which, it's not a bad record.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about his fighting skills. Corey Anderson's a different beast, but I feel like he come as a wrestler. He had, from looking through his wins, there's a lot of unanimous decisions. I think it'd be more of a wrestler than a striker, and I think Corey Anderson will probably handle that one. Apart as a surprise upset.
I was jumping around there. Who do you see winning? Bader's obviously younger than Machida. Not that it's based on age, it's about your fight experience as well, isn't it? But Bader's not been doing too bad in Bellator, has he?
Yeah, but you're forgetting something here, aren't you?
This is why you've got to tell me.
They've already fought in the UFC.
I can't even remember.
Yeah, Machida knocked him out.
Does that happen again, Chris?
Yeah and no, because if you watch Bader versus the actual current light heavyweight champion, which is in the right far corner, Nemikov, who's facing Phil Davis, handled him perfectly. I think it's hard because I haven't seen Machida much in Bellator, and he left UFC with the crane kick to Belfort, if you remember.
Is age a factor there? I'm gonna go with Bader and Corey Anderson. I'm gonna go with Bader and Corey Anderson to be through to the semi-finals in July. I think. But who you going with? Who's gonna come through that 2 fights?
You're going safe bet, aren't we?
Yeah,
you're safe betting this. So if you're going to safe bet, I'm going to throw the other punch at you then. But I agree with Corey, because for Yags, we're going to call him Yags because I'm not pronouncing that.
Yagshimuradov.
Yagshimuradov.
Or Muradov, normally. Yeah.
Muradov, yeah. I don't know much about him. He could come in and surprise us.
Yeah.
You know, he could. I'll go Corey Anderson, and I'd probably say I'll go Machida.
And what I'll do now, mate, I'll come to the other side of the draw in the quarters. We've obviously got Vadim Nemkov, who is champion at light heavyweight.
Who recently beat Bader for the title now, don't forget.
Right, okay, right. And that's obviously a mainstay of UFC for many years, a great wrestler, Phil Davis. But I found with Phil Davis, Chris, in UFC, he came up a bit short sometimes in fights.
Did you not find in his UFC reign, I found him very cocky and arrogant, and he thought he was the best of the best. And I thought when he fought the best of the best, didn't cut it, and hence why he's in Bellator, and that's no knock on Bellator.
Yeah.
I remember the whole thing with him and Rashad Evans, and obviously Phil Davis was the better wrestler, but on the night, peak Rashad Evans wrestled him all the way through.
Who you going with on this one?
Nemkov.
You're gonna go with Nemkov, right? Okay. Yeah, then we've got Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Big one. Big one.
As we've said many times before, how was this guy at 170 in the UFC? I know 205. He is a monster. Coming up against ex-UFC fighter and he was middleweight mainstay for years, wasn't he? Yoel Romero.
Challenged 3 times, yeah.
And just came up short every time. Yeah. So who have we got in this one? Rumble Johnson and Yoel Romero. Soldier regard. I've got to get that in there. His name.
I love you, Michael.
That fight never happened.
No,
I was waiting for that.
Those cocktails were a pesky thing now.
Yeah. So where'd you see this one going, Chris? Johnson and Romero in our final quarterfinal on April 16th.
Romero hasn't fought at 205 since Strikeforce.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? And that was under Scott Coker, who obviously runs Bellator. The thing is, I could easily say Rumble Johnson KO. I could quite easily say that. But Romero is so awkward. And if you watch his fights, he's so awkward the way he moves. And Rumble Johnson also has a problem with takedowns. And who is a silver medalist in Olympic wrestling? Romero. It's a two-tail here for me. Is if Rumble Johnson can touch him with his fist, it's over. But if Romero can take the initiative and grind and take him down and just beat him up on the floor, like Cormier's done to Anthony Rumble Johnson, Romero could win it. So I'm sitting on the fence. I'm not obviously gonna go into the semi-final matches because it'll be happening in July, and we'll cover that more to the time. But so if you had to for the quarterfinal, you're pushing me.
Nemkov obviously going over Davis. You going with that? I'll go with that as well from what you've told me. And then I know you want to sit on the fence, mate, but I think from what I could hear from you there, you're going with Rumble Johnson to get through to the semi-finals, which will take place in July.
Just think he has that one punch knockout in. It's scary, and you've seen it so many times in UFC at 205 before he fought Cormier. He just touched one person with an uppercut or a hook, and they were killed them dead. Romero, don't forget Romero's in his 40s as well. As much as he looks fantastic, still in his 40s.
He was in the Olympics years ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, silver medalist.
Yeah, it's crazy his credentials at Olympic level. But as you say, age. We go back to it. Age is always a factor, isn't it?
But there's ever one factor I've only just came into my head now. Don't forget, Rumble Johnson's been retired for 2 years. Romero still has been fighting quite a fair. Well, yeah, I'd say quite a fair bit. He hasn't fought this year, has he? But he fought last year.
Yeah.
Rumble Johnson hasn't fought in 18 months plus since he lost to Cormier. It's interesting. I'll probably go Romero, and I'll change the.
Just to close out there, well, Nemkov is obviously light heavyweight champion. Do you feel the belt should be on the line within this tournament?
No,
you don't.
No.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And don't forget, whoever wins gets $1 million.
Which is that's quite the purse, isn't it? When you think about it, like you don't get paid that in the UFC.
No. You could win the title and have $1 million in your bank. Happy days. Happy
days, mate. Happy days. Right. Into the boxing now. We've covered the MMA to quite the degree. And just going off the back of the weekend's fight, which was Josh Warrington in an absolute upset, losing to Maurizio Lara at featherweight. I had Josh Warrington winning this fight. I've gone against Josh Warrington when he fought. I'm trying to think now. It's gone.
It's your fault then, Burling, isn't it?
It's just like, yeah.
you should have gone against him. Told you this the other week.
I'm with it now. He had Carl Frampton. I was backing Carl Frampton in that fight. Josh Warrington did fantastic. He boxed very well. He's only got 7 stoppages, Josh Warrington, but he's still got power. And he fought Lee Selby before that. Lee Selby, very, very good fighter from here in Wales, done very well. And I just was not expecting the result. He was miles outside on the betting odds. Maurizio Lara. He was a minus 2,500 American betting terms, and the first 3 rounds 1 to 3, Warrington was, to me, he seemed to be in control. Had him on the back foot. We get into round 4, total different. Flip the script. The commentary team are like, he's totally lost the plot here. He was landing loads. He was trying to trade with him, put him down. I think they should have stopped the fight at round 4, Chris. I think Howard Foster was the referee. All his years of experience, I think the damage it's done to Warrington not stopping the fight at round 4 could be detrimental in future fights. I can't believe. What did you think? Do you think that should have been stopped at round 4?
Yeah, and you say about the ref, his corner to blame as well.
Oh yeah. His dad's in the corner. It's come up. They said the towel should have been thrown in at round 4.
Yeah, it should have been. He looked leggy.
Well, Lara had the best of the fight. Then he came into the fight round 4 onwards. Where we get to round 9, he's dominating. He's absolutely dominating the fight. And then put him down again. And Josh Warrington was in a bad way on that canvas. The doctors were in there. It took him a while to get him back on that stool. Paul Smith, who boxed for years, he said, I don't know how he's going to come back from it. He said it could really, really have affected his career. And it wasn't expected to. He was meant to come through this. It was meant to. He had it. He said it was going to be 6 rounds, Chris. He set himself up. Set himself up for a fall. Yeah. I'd also say another factor. I know we've spoken about crowds at events and stuff like that. Josh Warrington, when he's at the Leeds Arena and he's got 13, 14, 15,000 behind him, they bring him on. He needs the crowd behind him. I just wonder, would it be in a different, would it be a different ending in that fight? I just feel he needs the crowd with him. I don't again. I have to disagree. It's only because listening to fighters when they talk about when they're in that moment, you're focused on me looking at you now on a webcam. I block everything out, and it's just me and you. I think some fighters maybe, as they walk to the ring or the octagon, and the whole arena is erupting for you. Yeah, it can galvanize you. But I think when you're one-on-one with that fighter,
you don't hear anything else other than, you know, your mind, your coaches, and what you're doing going forward. I think it's a case of the way, you know, when you spoke to me about it, it sounded very arrogant, cocky, had it in the bag, and then watching it again today and watch just 9 minutes of the fight. You know, it's like both of them fighting in a phone booth from round 4. You know, I'm seeing you say round 4 was already got complete. You know, it was already changed the whole fight. You look leggy walking to the stall on round 4, and when he got up, you could see his legs were gone, and it's just getting wrong.
Nick Rawlin was covering it for DAZN. Obviously, it was on Sky Sports and DAZN. I was listening to the DAZN coverage afterwards. Oh, he's boxing fantastic, and you know you've got to. I think this prediction will come true. This is like round 2, round 3, and they were wrong. And I think the co-commentators, both ex-fighters, they thought it was a win. It just goes to show it's a massive loss. Do I see Lara doing much at featherweight? I don't know. I don't think it's hard to say. It might have just been a lucky fight for him. The style might have suited him.
I think it's a case of maybe, as you say in there, he came in too arrogant, too cocky. Okay, think of McGregor Diaz, overconfident. Maybe he gathers his thoughts, then he comes back, takes the fight again, and you know comes in with a clear mind and not trying to think I need to get this win, get him out of the way. Because he was taking shots in the pocket, and it was awful. You mean how much does he remember? How much does he remember from round 4?
He wasn't landing what Lara was landing. It was crazy.
1 or 2.
He had his arms by his side at one point. He's like, you need to get into a guard. I've never boxed, but you know, from a fan perspective,
you can see it though.
Get the hands up and don't try and trade off with him. You know. It was awful. He was just allowing Lara to come onto him and pepper him with loads of shots, and he was trying to return him, but he wasn't landing with the frequency of Lara. Absolutely not. So yeah, just a bad day at the office for him. I hope he comes back. I don't know.
I think he will.
They're saying they're not happy to have a rematch. This is Eddie Hearn saying, obviously at Matchroom, his promoter. He's come to Matchroom. You know, it's his first fight back from coming from Frank Warren. It's going to be hard to. I don't know, a rematch. I see the same outcome, and I think that's what they feel from a promoter's aspect. It could ruin him if he loses again.
Yeah, but he could take another fight and lose after that, and this fight could have just ruined his career. You know, full stop. It depends on what type of fighter he is. You know, you've just lost. You know, I take it. It's his first loss ever in boxing. You want to get that one back, don't you? As a fighter, you want that one back. So maybe, you know, take 6 months. He's probably going to need more than that. But, you know, come back, take a couple of fights maybe, and then get the rematch. And then prove to people that, you know, that was a fluke. That was an off night. You know, it's hard for fighters, isn't it?
It'll be interesting to see how Josh Warrington gets on. I'm sure they'll be booking him for his next one soon. To close out on today's show, we have got a big fight which has been rescheduled. This is the 4th time it's been rescheduled, and it is at welterweight. It's for the European title. It is Josh Kelly, PBK, versus Daniel Avasayan. I can't get it right.
Avasayan.
Avasayan, who is European welterweight champion of the world at the moment. No, he's not champion of the world. European welterweight title holder. Big fight for Josh Kelly. He's only had 11 fights through no fault of his own. This one most recently was rescheduled prior because the pandemic came along. They were meant to fight on March the 28th last year. And prior to that, Josh Kelly was very, very poorly, so they had to call it off the day of the fight. So finally, we get to see this at the weekend after it being rescheduled 4 times. I don't know. This is going to be a tricky one. I think Avasayan, he's fought some good fighters. He fought an aging Shane Mosley. He's fought some others at that weight. He's fought better guys than Josh Kelly has fought. Josh Kelly is slick. He looks good. He's good to watch. He's got all that, but I think he's got to be careful because this guy's hungry, and he's had more fights. He's had more fights than Josh Kelly. So I don't know. It's a tricky one to call. I daren't call who's going to win this one, Chris, because I jinx people. But obviously,
go against him. You go against him, and the winner, you what wins.
I want Josh Kelly to come through it. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's that case of the other guy is a veteran of 30 fights. He's only lost 3 times. But this is what Josh Kelly needs if he's going to kick on and get up the rankings and fight at world level. And off the back of that, we've got Conor Benn fighting Samuel Vargas very, very soon. There's been talk of Josh Kelly and Conor Benn in a big British fight, big British tilt going forward.
They love them, though. They love them, don't they, in Britain? They love them.
And, Conor Benn's looked very good coming through. He's had more fights as well. He's fought more frequently. Not through the pandemic as such, but that'd be the one coming out of this. But Josh Kelly's going to have to win it. But they are saying there will be a British battle further down the line with him and Conor Benn, which I'm very much looking forward to. If he gets past Samuel Vargas, he's fought Amir Khan, he's fought Lamont Peterson. Samuel Vargas has fought some guys, but he has took 7 losses.
It's a test for them all, though, isn't it? It's can you get your foot on the next step of the ladder? They have to take these fights to get there. Should be interesting.
I think just the box. I've missed the box in the last month or so because obviously they went on a bit of an off season and they're back now. So there's cards week in, week out. That's what I like about the UFC. It's been the frequency through the pandemic, moving it to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And now they're back in Vegas, obviously, which is it's more beneficial for the American fighters, definitely, isn't it, in terms of travel? So yeah, just to close out, Chris, episode 1 of Big Fight Weekly, we've powered 4.
And we have. And even with birds behind me.
They're going to the nest. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to the first episode, the pilot episode of Big Fight Weekly, and we will be back next week to cover all things MMA and boxing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mackenzie! She is at least 5 sandwiches short of a picnic.